I will start. So as I said before, I would try to present a talk entitled Reappropriation of Urban Space by Augmented Reality. So first, please let me present myself. I'm Professor Yassin Rekik. I am engineering computer science from the École Nationale des Sciences Informatiques in Tunisia. Then I get my Ph.D. at Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Lausanne, EPFL Lausanne. And now I'm a professor at the University of Applied Sciences, Western Switzerland in Geneva. My teaching interests are mainly software engineering, software architecture, human-computer interaction, virtual reality, augmented reality, and games technologies. And my research topics are mainly dealing with immersive technologies, games and serious gaming, and natural user interactions. Okay, so the main points I would try to present today. I will start by a brief introduction to immersive technologies, because I will assume that not everybody is experts in the domain. So I will, my presentation is not targeting expert people. It's a presentation for normal people which can know a little bit about augmented reality and virtual reality and etc., but not so expert in that. So I will start with a short introduction. Then I will present one idea which is motivating my work now, which is what I call the paradox between being ultra connected and ultra isolated now. Then I will present the main two parts of my presentation. The first one is to present how augmented reality can be a tool to reappropriate the urban space and the urban environment, and what are the challenges we have to tackle in order to reach such application and such goal. And at the end, I will finish with a conclusion. So let me first start with a short presentation of what I call immersive technologies. First, we have to understand the difference between virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed or merged reality. So to be brief, it is not a course, but it's just a short overview. What we call virtual reality, it's the use of computer technology and all the existing now digital technologies in order to create a simulated environment and to have the user immersed within this, in general, 3D world. So two things are important in defining virtual reality. The first one is that everything is simulated, everything is calculated by computer. It means if you see, for example, characters, they are only avatars calculated by a computer. If you see any vegetation, it is not real vegetation, is calculated and simulated by computer. Cars, cities, towns, whatever. Everything you are seeing in a virtual world is simulated by computer. It means it have been modeled and then rendered by a computer. And what is important in virtual reality is that the user is within this 3D world, and he is supposed to see only this simulated world. The other technology, it's what we call augmented reality. And in the augmented reality, we have a combination between real world and simulated or virtual object. So in the augmented reality, and this is why we call it augmented, because we are augmenting the real world, the visible things, the visible objects and environment with an additional layer of simulated information. So a simple definition can be that augmented reality, it's any technology allowing to enhance the real world, the observable, the visible world, by superimposing or adding computer-generated information or objects or whatever. Here you have an image just to show you that it is not futuristic. It is not science fiction. It's the reality, and since many years we start having real application even in industry to use augmented reality. For example, here it's a tool developed by Bosch company to help people to make maintenance of Bosch motors on cars, etc. Okay, the third word, it's what we call merged reality, or also we can call it mixed reality. So what is the difference between mixed or merged reality and augmented reality? In fact, theoretically, there is no big difference. It's only a question of terminology. In general, what we call augmented reality are situations where the real world is the basic thing, and the augmentation is only represent few amount of information of what is visible for the user. So it means it's a question of balancing. If you have 80% of your environment which is captured from real world, and you have 10% or 20% of encrypted or augmented information, we are speaking about augmented reality. When this balance start to become in favor of virtual things, it means that the real world exists, but also virtual objects represent half or more of the scene, and also we have the ability to interact with both real world and virtual object. And in this case, we try to emphasize this fact, and we call this a mixed or a merged reality context. So as you can see, merged or mixed reality is in fact augmented reality, but we use these terms of mixed or merged only to emphasize the fact that we have more virtuality than real object, or at least they are equivalent. Okay, of course, one important comment is that when we speak about immersive technology, when the user is immersed within a virtual or semi-virtual world, we have to understand that immersion is not only visual. Of course, the main important sensor modality we are trying to work with is vision, because the vision is the main the main tools for humans to capture the environment. But we have to notice that the immersion can be also with sound. So, for example, the sound we are listening, it is very important if we want to have a good immersion to have, for example, 3D sounds, okay, because this will help us to have good immersion and to feel the 3D nature of our surrounding world. We have also what we call all the haptic technologies. Haptic technologies is any device or technology allowing the user to feel the environment, to touch it, to move it, to feel forces, etc. So all this is done using what we call haptic devices. We are also working on olfactory immersion. I don't know real implementation of that, but it seems that some people are working on that. So just to say that when we talk about immersive technology, we have to get in mind that it is not only visual, it's many senses that that have to contribute in order to have this feeling of immersion. Good. So now what is important for me, and the rest of my talk with focus on that, is to speak about what I call urban augmented reality applications. What's the meaning of urban augmented reality applications? There is two main features or characteristics in order to say that this application is an urban augmented reality application. The first one is that we are in augmented reality mode. So we are not in totally virtual reality, we are in augmented reality situation. It can be using mobile devices, smartphones, head-mounted device. It means casks or something we put on our eyes and on our head, like, for example, the HoloLens from Microsoft. It can be wearing haptic devices and haptic wearable equipment. We can also have sounds around us, but we are in augmented reality situation. We are we see the environment, we see the world, and there is augmentation. This is the first constraint. The second constraint is that we are in an outdoor context. An outdoor context, because when we speak about augmented reality in general, we separate two situations. Indoor situation, you are in a room, in a house, in a laboratory, in a manufacturer, but we are indoor. This situation is always easier to manage than outdoor. Why? Because when you go outdoor and when you are in an outdoor use context, first, the environment is generally unknown. Of course, we can have a model of the environment, we can have a model of the city, we can have a map, we can have whatever, but in general, it cannot be as detailed and as precise as indoor model, because when you are indoor, you can scan the room, you can have a very precise 3D model, which is very difficult to have in outdoor environment. The second thing is that outdoor environments are in general changing environments. It means you have cars moving, you have people. Even if you have a model, between the time you have built the model and the time you are using your application, some buildings have changed, some facades have changed, some colors, some whatever texture have changed. So in general, the environment is not stable enough to rely on. The third thing is that we have a noisy environment. So for example, for sounds, it's difficult to have good quality of sounds when you are outside because we have noise. It can be noisy also by the movement of people, by the luminosity, by the sunlights, etc. So all these factors make it difficult to build augmented reality applications with high quality in the outdoor context. The second thing is that when you are outside, there is some constraints on the user itself. The user must be mobile, must be in movement. So you cannot give him a device or an equipment which is very heavy. You cannot ask him to have 200 kilograms of equipment, etc. It's not possible. This you can have it in the indoor situation, but you cannot have it in the outdoor situation. Also, we have energy problem because when you are outdoor, you are using in general your smartphone or a dedicated equipment, but you need energy. And if you have a high level of consumption, so you have an autonomy of 30 minutes or 1 hour, and you cannot have more. This is, for example, the problem we get when we had the Pokemon experience a few years before. People start even buying external battery, because when they go out with the air mode and the GPS, which is active, etc. So after 30 minutes or 1 hour maximum, they don't have they don't have energy. We have also security constraints because we are outdoor. We can be immersed and we can have additional information, and this can distract us. We can have problems of navigation, problem of circulation, etc. So we have to be careful about all these aspects. So the main idea of this slide is to emphasize the difficulty of the outdoor context, or what I call the urban augmented reality application. It is not easy to build such application, and I will details all these points when I will speak about the state of the art and the challenges at the end of my presentation. But let me now go to this idea of connection, isolation, paradox. So if you can, I think everybody is now agree that we are living in a connected world. You know, all of you know that we have now online meeting, online working, online gaming, online museum, online stores, online shopping. We have the online everything, okay, which is a good thing. It's a revolution. It helps to have many opportunity and many capability which were not possible in the past. But my idea is to make some comments about that. Okay, it's good to be online and to have all these facilities, but what we are noticing now is that we are very well connected, but at the same time we start, or not all of us, but some users start being really isolating, despite the fact that they are ultra connected. So for example, let me give two examples of that. First one is for kids. Many kids now spends hours and hours behind their screens. They are playing online, and if you ask them to go out to walk, to play, to discuss with friends, whatever, they will answer no. Our friends are here connected also, and I'm fine, and it's enough for me. So we are with kids spending 2 or 3 hours per day with these modalities, meaning being indoor behind their screens, and we have kids spending the double of that. It means 4 hours to 6 hours in the weekend days behind their screen. So we have a problem of what about external activities? What about physical activities? Because a child, a kid, has to must move, practice some sports, walk, discover his environment, discover his neighborhood. He must also learn what we call the social behavior, because when you are outdoor, you talk. There is some rules. You are learning from this experience of being outside and of being outdoor. All these we don't have it if we spend hours and hours behind our screens in the house. The second example is the same things, but for adult now. It's, for example, online shopping and online commerce, the e-commerce, what we call. So as you can see in my in the chart presented here in the slide, we have more and more extension of electronic shopping against traditional shopping. So it means that more and more people are making shopping and commerce online and not by going to shops and going outside, etc. It is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that it is not good, because it's a new, it's open new opportunities. It's a good good things, but still having some side effects, because like for the kids, when you are making online shopping, all the social activities that can be involved in the classical shopping, you don't have it. Because if you make classical shopping, you are also visiting the streets, animating the city center, you are meeting people. Many times we do it in groups, etc. If you are doing that online, you are again behind a screen, alone at home, etc. Physical activities also does not exist. We have a big problem also with when we speak about e-commerce and e-shopping, etc., is the incapacity of local commerce and small commerces to fight against giant international companies and big companies. So it's a real problem. So as you can see, we can generalize this observation for all domain, for works, for virtual visits, for meeting and dating, for e-government, e-administration. So at the same time, they are opening many facilities and many opportunities, but at the same time, they have side effects, negative side effects, which is a kind of social isolation, physical isolation, cultural isolation, and it is not a good thing. So what I want to promote by this presentation is how augmented reality can bring people again to the streets, to the city, and to the real life. So the idea is so simple. The idea is that in order to bring people to the streets, to the urban space, to the urban environment, to outdoor, this context must become or should become as attractive as the one we have virtually on our screens. So it is not enough to say, to ask people to go out and to go doing classical shopping and classical gaming and outdoor gaming and outdoor shopping, etc. But you have to provide them with as attractive context as they have at home on their computer. So the idea, my fundamental idea, is to exploit augmented reality to transform the urban decor and the urban environment and the urban context into an information and communication space by enhancing this urban space and this urban decor with a lot of additional layers and informations to make it as attractive as the virtual or the electronic digital one on computers. And this is possible. This is possible because augmented reality can enhance the real urban space and the streets and the urban decor with many kind of attractive information. For example, we can enhance it by geolocated information. When you are outside, you can have information which is geolocated. It means it depends on the localization of the user. It depends on the location context you have. This is what we call in general in our fields location intelligence. So you are adding the location intelligence to the user. Also, what is possible with augmented reality is to have what I call contextual information. It means if I am in a street and I am looking for example, I'm walking and it's 1:00 p.m. and I need to eat. For example, what can be useful for me is to have some suggestions of the nearest restaurants or pizzeria or whatever which are around me. So this is contextualization. Personalization is the way that information can be suggested for me in my language. Also, I can select which are my interests, which are my filters, etc., so that the information I get and the augmentation can be personalized. There is also something which is very important by augmented reality is the temporality. It means that we can present the same information, but having a kind of time sliders. For example, just to give me one example, and this is the example I'm presenting here at the right side of my slides. Suppose you are a tourist in Geneva City. So you are, or even not a tourist, even a Geneva citizen, but young kids walking in the Geneva streets, and you are close to the Jean Calvin street. So if you are interested in history and historical characters, etc., one application can triggers you and can notify to you that you are close to the house where Jean Calvin lived before, etc. And this application can highlight this house. And then also what you can have is to visualize the timeline of this house. So we can see, for example, this house at the 16th century, 17th, 19th, 18th, 19th, etc. And you can see the historical evolution of the house just by superposing, by augmented reality. You can see that. You can see also the characters of each era, of each centuries. And this is something we cannot have it if we don't use augmented reality. So we can have this temporality. We can have also interactivity. We can add to this gamification. Why not to have a kind of quiz or question or game associating to Jean Calvin characters? And then also at the end, if you manage to answer the question or if you succeed in your game, you can have rewards, and these rewards can be, for example, discounts for the for the nearest pizzeria. Why I'm making this connection between, for example, gaming and advertisement and restaurants? Because in many times when we build augmented reality applications, the problem is the durability, is the sustainability of the application, because we don't know how to monetize, how to make it sustainable, because we need money to have an application running, etc. So we need a business model, and the business model can be this one. It's a win-win. So for example, I am promoting the cultural and the historical inheritance of a city, but at the same time, all the commerce, all the local commerce are helping me through contribution, through advertisements, through whatever. So it's a win-win situation, and with augmented reality, we can have all that. So let me give you some example of application which are in this vision, the vision of enhancing the urban space, the streets, the neighborhood, etc., the outdoor context. So for example, in the domain of culture and entertainment, we start since few years having what we call art in street or street museum. So for example, the first example here I put is the Fun in Air, which is an experience in China to enhance a shopping area in Chengdu city. The second example I'm presenting is what it's an augmented reality application which exists. You can upload it, etc., and install it. It is called Street Museum. It's in London, and the idea is to enhance many places and many sites in London by photographies and historical photographies, etc. So this is, for example, a kind of enhancements. Another kind of enhancements, it can be, for example, to see historical characters, but in their real location. So, for example, as I said before, you can see Calvin within the city of Geneva, and you can see how he lives before, and his house, etc. For example, in Geneva, we have an example. We have an example of application allowing people to live in Geneva of 50. But it's virtual reality. It's not augmented reality. My idea is, why not to make that become a kind of augmented reality application, which is not the case now, but it's just to give you an idea. Another example, another example is historical figures in I think it's in Amsterdam, which offer the possibility to follow classes, so lectures with famous scientists, scientific figures. So they are using characters representing scientific famous people, and you can go ask them, interact with them within a classroom, etc. And when we can think about all these within streets and within the urban space. Other things also dealing with entertainment is to bring kids outdoor, and the famous example, the famous example is the Pokemon Go. Of course, it was a big success, and then it was a flop, but it will come back, because we are learning about our experiences and our failures, etc. So Pokemon Go, it's a nice application to visit the city, to see all the places and the locations within your city, within your neighborhood, etc. There is a lot of application similar to Pokemon Go, like sharks in the park, like now I'm sorry, not a problem. I don't get the name now, but there is a lot of application which requires kids to go outdoor, to discover their environment, to work together, to play together, etc., to discuss, to move, to walk, and this is what is needed normally for kids. If we go to another domain, which is social activities and political or citizen-oriented activities. So, for example, there is a lot of application now emerging, which are dealing with urban planning. It means that citizens can see how a place will be managed or will be organized, etc., before constructions and management is done. So it's by anticipation, so you can see the final results, and then these can help people to accept, to augment, to rise the acceptability of the project, because we are seeing what will happen, etc. There is, for example, an application which is called Rethinking Public Spaces, by asking citizens themselves to suggest things, how to color this wall, and how to what to put here, and how to manage this area, etc. So it's a participative way of managing the city, etc. We have, for example, also more oriented into citizen initiative and participations. For example, there is some tools that allowing people to denunciate or to announce problems or infractions or whatever, and it's really geolocated and using augmented reality. The second example presented here is a climate change initiative, asking people to think about which sensors we have to put here, which equipment, etc., in order to have a good balance between the aesthetic parts and the utility parts of climate measurement equipment, etc. Another example, which is linked to meeting, messaging, dating, social networking, because it's also important in our life to have social activity and social connections and to meet and to date and whatever. So for example, there is the graffiti platform that help people to put augmented reality graffitis on walls and on buildings and to share them with friends, etc. And there is also another platform now recently launched by the ECOL organization. It is called ECOL platform. It's a messaging tool based on maps, so geolocated message, but the message are first geolocated, second they are put in time. So for example, if you put one message to someone in one place, it can have a kind of life cycle. It means, for example, it is a message for 2 hours. If you don't get it after 2 hours, it's not a problem, but the other user can, when he go close to this message, he can go back into time, etc. And I can, for example, go back 1 week ago because I met someone in this place, so I want to see if he sent me a message, etc. It's a very innovative application. You can see there is a video for that. If you go on exod.org, you can see the platform, very innovative, and it will be based on augmented reality. The idea is to have the messages put on walls, on the streets, on sidewalks, etc. It's very innovative. Now, if you go to another domain also, which is commerce and trading and tourism and commercial activity. So, for example, there is a lot of applications allowing to have what we can call augmented reality vitrines or showcases or shops, like, for example, the Recorderland in London, or the Zara vitrines using augmented reality, which is now implemented in more than 40 locations since 2018 by Zara boutiques. I don't want to make marketing for any trademark, but it's just to give you examples. And the last example I will give is to have what I call augmented reality advertising, because as I said before, it is important for local commerce and for small commerce to reach the consumers and to reach the local people, etc. And what is important is to have contextualized, geolocated, local advertisement, and this we can have it by augmented reality, because we can be guided to go to this local commerce, etc. And also we can have what I call the embedded style advertisement. It means that advertising becomes part of the urban decor, not only information we plug into the visual scene, but also to transform the urban decor. For example, the facades of buildings or the streets or whatever. We can encrust augmented reality object in order to have something which is aesthetic, which is it becomes realistic. It's like it exists in real on buildings or whatever. So This is a kind of short list of examples showing how augmented reality can bring people into the city, into the streets, into the urban space, as I said, and to avoid this isolation of users. Of course, these applications requires a lot of technology, advanced technology, which are not easy to master and easy to develop. So, for example, we have a lot of challenge when we speak about augmented reality application working in outdoor, in urban context. The first one is, for example, and it's obvious, is the localization. How to know where I am as a user, because the application need to know where you are in order to suggest something which is contextualized, personalized, which is geolocated. Of course, I'm not talking about geolocalization with GPS, because yeah, you can use GPS, but GPS, you can have 10 or 20 meters error, which is not which is acceptable for some kinds of application. But if, for example, you want to see exactly what you are seeing, which building, which address, etc., every centimeters becomes important, and we are not allowed to have an error of 10 meters. The maximum error we can have is few centimeters, and to be located with few centimeters errors or precisions, this is not an easy task. We have, of course, we can use odometry and we can use sensors in order to help us to know where we are, but it is not precise enough. This is why now more and more we are using optical approaches, which are based on mapping captured image by the user and models. So we can have 3D models of cities, we can have 2.5 models, we can have facade recognitions if we have a database with all the facades of the city and information about that. And all these techniques are based on machine learning, deep learning, in order to compare what we are seeing and what we have in the database, and to map these two information in order to situate and to geolocalize the user. The second challenge is to understand your environment. For example, if you are looking to a building, as a human, you understand that it is a building and this is a window and this is a door. But for computer, it's not easy to understand that what we are seeing, it's building with windows and doors and whatever. So we need what we call a semantic recognitions of our environment. So there is a lot of techniques and a lot of research domain for that, like, for example, urban element recognition and parsing, facade parsing, sidewalk recognition, and vegetation recognition, people recognition, etc. And all this is useful because if you don't know very well your environment and what happens in your environment, you cannot make intelligent augmentation. Another challenge also is what we call the camera pose estimation. It's a very tough and hard problem in augmented reality, because when we speak about augmented reality, it means that we have something which is simulated, which is virtual, and we have to plug it, to encrypt it on a real object. And this must be done with high quality. As I said, usually, for example, suppose you have a public bank like the first image. If you want to put a character, a virtual character on it, if it is not well put and well adjusted, and if it doesn't fit with the bank, it will be not accepted, and the user will not have a good experience. So we need exactly to make a good mapping. And to make a good mapping, we have to estimate very, very, very precisely where we are, but also how we are taking our image, how so it is called the camera pose, how our camera is posed. Okay, so what is important is to calculate that, and what is allowed is few degrees and few millimeters of error. So we need a precision of few millimeters and few degrees, and this is not easy to do. Of course, we are benefiting from many work done in the domain of drones and in the domain of autonomous vehicles. For example, with some algorithm well known in the augmented reality domain, called, for example, the SLAM algorithm, the VSLAM algorithm, etc., which allows to calculate dynamically and in real time the camera pose estimation. Another problem, for example, is what we call the realism, because when you put virtual objects in a real world, if you don't have the same luminosity, if you don't have, for example, the shadowing of the object, there is something which is missed and it is not realist. Suppose you put, for example, you add characters on the street, everybody have a shadow, but your character have not. But it's strange, it's not realistic. So there is a problem with that. So this is what we call realism. And of course, the problem is to calculate, for example, to make a luminosity estimation or a shadowing estimation in real time, because you are moving and you need real-time visualization. This is the challenge, is to have all this in real time. Okay, another problem is the problem of occlusion. It's a very tough and difficult problem in augmented reality. The problem of occlusion is when you are putting an object, a virtual object, on your screen, and you have something which is closer to you in your scene, because the problem is in the computer graphics is that it is very difficult to calculate the depth, the depth of object. So if you have, for example, you have suppose you have one object, then you have the virtual object you want to embed in your scene, and then there is another real object. Normally, the real object, which is close to you, have to occlude the virtual one. But in reality, until now, all the augmented reality tools and API we are using does not allow us to have this occlusion. And we have always, like in the photo here, we have always the augmented object, which is covering the real object, which is not real. In reality, we must have the man closer to us and covering the statue. And this is a very tough problem. We are able to resolve this problem in static situation, but in real time, it is not easy. It is not easy because, yeah, it's a problem of calculating the area we have to cover, etc. And it is not an easy problem. And of course, to add, we have to add to all these challenges many others. For example, the problem of the performance, because everything have to run on mobile devices, on mobile equipment. We have to think about security. We have to think about authentications. If you are, for example, moving and we need to know where you are precisely, there is some privacy problem, some security problem, some authentication problem, etc. So there is a lot of additional challenge, and I enumerate all these challenges just to show you that we are at the beginning of the road, and the road is so long to reach what I can call acceptable and good user experience with urban augmented reality applications. There is another also aspect which is very important to consider, is that to have urban augmented reality applications, there is a lot of related domain which we need them. For example, we need Internet of Things technologies like sensors and smart sensors, etc. Why? Because if you want to have location intelligence, as I said before, so you have to detect things, you have to have real-time information. For example, you have to detect in real time that there is a train that can be taken after 2 minutes, depending on your position. And all this is dealing with open data, with sensor, etc. We also rely a lot in augmented reality on machine learning and deep learning for all the mapping, calibration, tracking algorithms. Also, what is very important in augmented reality, especially outdoors, but even indoor, it's what we call geographical information systems and building information modeling, which are two domains very extended now and emerging. And we need them because the more we have the capacity to model the city and to model the building, etc., the more we can build 3D models and move within these 3D models. And of course, we can augment them and superpose virtual object on them. The last domain I can mention is the domain, as I said, of security and trust, because we cannot use all these applications, and we cannot accept all this scenario if we don't have a trust in technology and also trust in the data that is exchanged, etc. So very important to work with security and trust people domain. Good. So just to conclude, I have only 3 take-home messages, if I can say. So my presentation was mainly a kind of suggestion, let's say, or a hope or a vision. This vision is that I am convinced that the urban space can become a framework for information and communication through AR, and to avoid this isolation of needing always to be at home with our computer behind our screens. My idea is to have to transform the urban space and the urban decor to make it as attractive and as rich and as interactive as being at home facing our computers and our screens. So the idea is that I'm convinced that augmented reality can bring peoples again to the city, to the streets, and to the real life. But of course, as I said before, we still have a lot of challenges to tackle, because augmented reality is in its first steps. We still have something which is a proof of concept, but it is not really useful and usable in real context situation, and we still need to work in order to have higher acceptability, higher quality, higher performance. Thank you for your interest and for your listening, and yeah, I'm open for question if there is question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry,
Hi, Taqwa. How are you?
From the beginning, but it's really interesting, especially the message of the end, bringing people to the street, but with technology.
It's because it's a real problem. We are, as I said before in my presentation, we are very connected, but we are also very isolated, in fact, by all these technologies. And the idea is is to try to balance that a little bit. Of course, the idea is not to change everything, but if we can bring people to the streets, to the real life, and to the real activities, mainly for kids, for shopping, for something that we usually do it really on streets and in the city, it can be a good thing.
Yeah.
Psychologically, economically, everything. So it's a win-win. Physically also, of course. Yeah. It's a problem of health also.
Yeah.
So it's a common problem.
Yeah. I think technologies impact really the communication between people. So as you said, yeah, everyone has his own world, own virtual world. So why not we can connect our virtual worlds together and be on the street.
Yeah. The idea is that the idea is not to have the choice between reality or technology, because now this is the choice. The choice is, if you want technology and online things and etc., you have to go behind the screen and with your computer. And if you have the reality, you don't have that. The idea is, no, it's to avoid this choice and to let people benefiting, to take advantage of both of them, being within the street, within the city, at the same time having all this augmentation, all this information, all these communication possibilities. So it's a question of having the good side of both, and not to select one or the other. This is the idea.
Yeah, but also the challenges are not so easy to yeah, I saw some 4 or 3 challenges. So especially the precision.
Yeah.
A big matter to succeed your project.
Yeah. It's not for tomorrow, as I said. I think now we have a lot of research done on that. As I said, because it's a domain taking advantage of all the research performed in autonomous vehicles, drones, military aspects, etc. So there is a lot of progress, but we need some years before having the capacity to have good quality, real-time, precise augmentation. It's not so easy, especially in the outdoor situations, in the outdoor context. Yeah, it's not so easy.
Yeah, I can imagine. So,
good. I will stop and suspend the recording. I think it's better, Taqwa.
Okay.
Because I was recording, because Mohammed asked me to record.
Okay.